want to talk? So let's talk. Here. Talk. You want to talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk, you want to
Welcome, my friends. It's Talk to Solomon. The whole gang's here. We have Chief Steve Davis in the studio. We have Jessica Bradshaw via Skype. And we have our guest of honor, Major General Jerry Curry. General, how are you?
I am super. It's so good to see Jessica. I haven't seen her in a long time.
I know, it's been a while. It's so nice to be back.
Yeah, Solomon's been keeping you away from me.
General, with all due respect, I just know that if you decide to leap over a tall building in a single leap, you might hurt yourself. So I've kept Jessica away.
I thank you for taking care of me.
Yeah.
You're tops on my list. General, serious business in America today. We have had, since the last time we were together, revelation after revelation after revelation after revelation, to the point that it's almost inconceivable that this president and this administration is involved in so many, not serious, but monumental situations, from the IRS to the NSA to the Fast and Furious to the border security to the AP and the reporter on Fox, and there's more stuff coming, and this president frankly doesn't give a damn, isn't affected, and is just having a good time, and Michelle's planning another long vacation, and as far as he's concerned, he's just wonderful. He's great. I think the man is mentally afflicted.
Well, you know, I sat back a couple of days ago and I said, what in the world drives this fellow? And my conclusion, which may be totally off base, by the way, I don't pretend to be a prophet, but it is that this man's intention is to gain control of the United States of America, its economy and its citizens, and that he's the grand poobah at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and that his intention is to be the dictator for all of us. And just like in a communist country or a Russian country or a Muslim country, and his intention is to be control all the citizens, whether you're talking about the internet or whatever it may be. I think that that's what this guy's up to. He intends to turn this country into a dictatorship.
Well, I think that is very intuitive. I think that he was born, I don't know where the hell he was born, but I think he was raised on Chicago politics, where you do what you're supposed to do or someone comes and breaks your legs, if not your neck. And I think he has brought those tactics with him, and I don't think he's in control. I think he's being controlled by a cabal. And as you see Rahm Emanuel taking over Chicago to use it as his private fiefdom, as you see the Iranian-born Valerie Jarrett in control behind the scenes, as you see out-and-out socialist and Fruit Loops in total control, I think they're under the assumption that they can simply take over America, as you said, and that we, the people, will simply go along with it. Let's ask Jessica her thoughts.
Well, I will agree with everything the general has said, and I agree with everything you are saying, Stan. I think that, one question is, does it matter whether it's Obama or it's Valerie Jarrett or this evil liberal agenda?
All right, just a minute. We're going to have to.
I know that needs to be here, the one that our founders intended, or I'm just going to go ahead and be quiet and protect my future. And we have, evil fighting against good. I mean, in all manner of speaking, and it's just going to have to happen. I think it's going to get worse. I think the whistleblowers will continue to come out, and us as Americans need to stay strong and hold our elected officials accountable. I'm surprised that more have not come out and said that this is an outrage. All of the stuff that's going on right now.
Well, I think it's interesting to see that both the Republicans and the Democrats are defending the government. And I'm very frustrated. I saw Karl Rove just saying, well, you don't understand, O'Reilly. This is all good. No, it's not all good. And I don't trust the government. It comes down to that. Well, Chief.
Well, if you're going to trust them, you have to say, what about Fast and Furious? What about Benghazi? What about the IRS? What about the NSA? They're not trustworthy. But I want to give this a real quick analogy. So you mentioned, this is like the mafia. The Obama administration is running this like the mafia. You got murder, mayhem, espionage, loan sharks, leg breaking, all that's going on right now by them. But I think about the general, and the general's told us stories before about the general's a good man. He's an honest man. He's a true leader, and leading American soldiers. That is a difficult task when you're leading good, honest people on important missions. But the general did it well. But I think about the Obama administration somewhat like the Dirty Dozen. So they got a bunch of cutthroats and a bunch of criminals that they're trying to control. But rather than Lee Marvin, the American, in charge, it's like Telly Savalas, the criminal's in charge, and it's going to go to hell, and we may be the victims if we don't stop it.
All right, do we have the general? General, let me ask you a response then.
Well, I think Chief is right on target. He's right exactly where we are. What this is all about is the destruction of the United States of America. There is nothing good that's going to come out of this at any level. And so the thing that we should do is we have to keep being who we are and moving down the road that we know is the right road. And I know it doesn't look very good, but it's sort of like General Eisenhower in World War II. General Eisenhower made some thoughts, not the conclusions, about fighting at the Battle of the Bulge when the fighting began, and his conclusion was they were going to lose the city and they were going to lose that area, and they weren't going to be able to survive that. They have to come around from the flank, maybe bring more troops ashore in the amphibious boats. But there was a general there who didn't know that Eisenhower thought that this should happen, and so he just ignored it all. His name was Patton. And Patton went in, as you know, and took over the war and blew the Germans completely out of the area. I think what we need right now in the federal government, in our American organizations across the board, we need some patents. We need some general patents who are politicians who will get up and stand up to the enemy, and the enemy is clearly the administration, and make a point of blowing them out of the water and doing the right thing for the American people.
According to Rasmussen, only 30% of the American people trust the government surveillance to stay within the confines of the rules, the laws, the regulations. I'm amazed there's 30%. They've got to be unconscious. And by the way, I don't just limit this to Obama. I think Obama's a special kind of evil. But I don't know. I have never trusted government. I didn't trust it under Bush. I didn't trust it under Clinton. I didn't trust it under the first Bush. I didn't trust it under Reagan. And I liked Reagan. But government, by its very nature, cannot be trusted. That is why it must be answering to the people, be overseen by the people, and be transparent at all times. Because you cannot trust an 800-pound gorilla to always say Gesundheit, excuse me, and thank you.
Yeah, well, our founding fathers believed that. That's why we had 3 branches of government. They believed that we had to have checks and balances. And that's what you're talking about, checks and balances. And the way you make it work is the man who lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has to be somebody who the people can trust, not the government, him personally. The people can trust, and they know he's going to do all in his power to make good things happen for the country. And that's what's going wrong right now, is that we have somebody running the country from the White House who is not trying to make good things happen, who is trying to make selfish things happen for himself, and he's going to live like on the fat of the fatted calf.
Well said, Chief.
Well, you mentioned Ronald Reagan. Let's remember that Ronald Reagan said that government is not the answer to the problem. Government is the problem. So
right.
Even though he wasn't perfect, he was a great president, my favorite. I'm glad I got to see him in my lifetime. But you're right, Stan. Government is the problem. It must be kept under control, which is exactly what the Constitution was designed to do, was keep the government under control.
There is something called, let me say it correctly, a conscience that is allegedly in every human being. It was always the job of the community, of parents, of grandparents, to help instill in every child that knowledge of right and wrong, that sense of pride and shame, so that they would, when no one was looking, do the right thing. Would you agree with that, General?
Absolutely.
What we have now is a government and a group of people on the left that are saying there is no right, there is no wrong, there is no need to install such a thing, and we have a lot of people that have no conscience. There is no problem. For instance, in the country of Belgium, they are passing a law to make it all right for doctors to euthanize children if the doctors follow a certain protocol and feel that the child's life is not worth living. Now, we know that that slippery slope is one that cannot be managed. And I think that's what we're looking at. We're looking at, in government, not just our government, any government, a government that says either I can have everything I want or I can do without, so that I treat people the right way. Without conscience, that won't happen. And I think that, and no one's saying it, but that's me saying it, our problem is our government has lost its conscience. And the whistleblowers, God bless them, are the few that have conscience left. And the government is doing its best to purge those people, get them out of government, get them out of places of control, get them out of teaching positions, any kind of positions, so they can have a country of people with no conscience that will do what's in their own best interest, where government can manage them. Jessica.
You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you, any more. Um, Purge is the word. If someone is to stand up, they will be prosecuted, they will be fined, they will be incarcerated, they will be gone after, like I'm sure Ed Snowden will. To the full extent of that government arm law, uh, to be an example to anyone else who has a conscience who will decide to speak against the government. That's going to happen. And could the Nazi regime could have been as successful as it was for as long as it was, had people within the ranks been people of consciousness, people who cared for their fellow human being? Absolutely not. They would have stood against Hitler and anybody else, and would not have followed orders. But what this government is looking for is those people who will follow orders, and I believe that unfortunately individuals, if they don't have a strong enough integrity, conviction, belief system, moral compass, they will be bought through money. In this case, high salaries, and that greed will take over that rationale of thinking, of decision making, and we have um, seen the articles, read the stories about how in the federal government, jobs numbers are the lowest in the nation, compared to private numbers, because they are hiring and hiring people to be part of that machine, that evil machine that is looking to take over our lives in every way. And you mentioned it, whether it's in schooling or, we have the IRS scandals. I mean, it takes a real sicko, uh, or a person who would just likes their paycheck enough to want to go against principles and ideals that our country was founded on. I mean, I believe that. I don't know if it's an idealistic way of looking at things, but I think that this administration is really pushing the envelope and feels that everyone has a price, and that could be money, that could be, heck, that could be prostitutes, that could be drugs. We're seeing it now. It's literally unfolding before our eyes.
General, we are seeing our military turned from a prideful organization to a prideless organization. They're more concerned that they accept homosexuality than that they defend America successfully. Am I overstating?
Not a bit. I have, in all, I put in 34 years of active duty, actually at the beginning of 35. And I have not seen in all of those years what has happened to the military, even under people like Jimmy Carter, for example. I have not seen what has happened now. For example, as you know, what happened this week was a sergeant in the Army band, a vocalist, a soloist in the Army band, was criticized for having a bumper sticker that was anti-Obama on his car, and the officer in charge came to him and said, "Is that your car in the parking lot with that bumper sticker that's making fun of Obama?" And he said, "Oh yeah." And the guy says, "Well, we don't tolerate that sort of thing." And the fellow, of course, now is facing court-martial charges. There is something wrong in this country when a military guy who's going to die for his country can't be allowed to put on his bumper sticker on his own private car, whatever he wants to put on there. I don't care whether it's not good or is good.
Well, I think we could go further than that. I think we have seen, and some of the numbers are coming out, but I don't know why, but I was shocked when I heard that the number of men, boys, young men being raped is as large as the number of young women being raped in our military. That just blew my mind. But it's because we put homosexuals who are, now let me say this, not for the general and not for the chief and not for Jessica. This is from Stan Solomon. If you're a homosexual, what you're doing is your own private business, but it is destructive for you and for those around you. And that if you put a homosexual person in charge of other people of the same sex, you're going to have problems. Just like when you put a man in charge of women, you're going to have problems. That is why it is best to have women in charge of women and men in charge of men and heterosexuals at that. Now, am I way out of line here, General?
You're right on target. I served at that level. I had a son who served on active duty. I had a granddaughter who served on active duty, and the granddaughter in particular was always concerned about somebody chasing her down and raping her. She served honorably and well for 5 years and then got out. But yes, I'm with you. Those are the concerns. The idea that you can have men and women sleeping in the same barracks and nothing is going to happen is complete idiocy. Just common sense tells you that over a period of time, if you keep a young guy who is 20 years old with a young girl who is 20 years old, something eventually is going to happen one way or the other, but it will happen.
And if you add to that, if you have young guys, one or more of whom is homosexual, and if you have young guys and the person in charge of them is homosexual, you're going to have sooner or later problems. And when I started this conversation, I talked about not consensual sex. I talked about rape. You are having homosexual men attacking and raping other men. Now, I have family in the military. If they were, God forbid, to be attacked and someone would attempt to rape them, I would want them to kill that person twice if possible. But wash your hands before and after.
I understand. I got it. My feelings are equally as violent as yours are, and of course, you know, I was an infantryman and a ranger and all those sorts of things. So I've lived a very violent life, and I wouldn't hesitate for a second to do whatever it took to stop the rape and to see to it that person never did it again.
In fact, Chief, you spent some time there, did you not?
I did. And I have two nephews that are going to be going into the Army, the United States Army, in the next few months, and I'm really at a loss for what advice to give them on how to conduct themselves now, other than being honest and faithful to America. But they're in a much different environment than they should be, or that they're going to be, and it's really a hard thing to go through. But I do want to mention that you mentioned the Nazis earlier, and the brown shirts of the Nazi Party were homosexuals, and that was a chaotic environment and very brutal and very damaging to a lot of people. So that's what we're looking at today. But the goal is to destroy the military. That's the goal. So yeah. The way you do that is you inject those homosexuals there, disrupts everything, and there you go.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back, General. Just hold the thought, please. We've got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more here on Talk to Solomon.
For history does not long entrust the care of freedom to the weak or the timid.
Nations may rise, fall, but an idea lives on.
Lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
History hasn't been easy on America. We've waged war in foreign fields and secured the blessings of liberty. But history isn't simply the story of our triumphs. It's also the story of our struggles. And we are no strangers to hardship. Each generation of Americans is tested, and we're entering a time of tribulation, disappearing jobs, disappointing politics. But beyond that lies the second American century, a new golden age. Our generation is being called not to win a revolution, but to preserve one. to recall the source of the blessings of liberty before liberty is squandered by those who do not understand that it can be lost forever. We are being called to declare that the principles of our founders are timeless, not temporary. To decide that freedom isn't always comfortable or convenient, but it is always necessary, whether it is in the public space or the marketplace. We are being called to remember simply who we are. When times are toughest, our truest character is revealed. Well, times are tough, and sometimes our politics can seem hopeless. So what do? We do what we have always done, what we're best at.
I fight for freedom.
For our republic. For my family.
For the free market.
I fight.
I fight.
I fight.
I fight. I fight.
We fight.
Hey, my name is Stan Solomon, and you know if I have something to say, I'll say it. And I'll only tell you the truth because I'm a Republican, not a Democrat. Democrats always lie. Republicans only lie half the time. I don't lie at all. This is the Fuel Mule. It's an extraordinary product that was developed by a friend of mine, an engineer, and it increases the fuel mileage on your vehicle. If you have a combustion engine, this will increase your mileage by 10 to 20%. It bolts around your fuel line. You can install it yourself or have your mechanic do it. It is an extraordinary item and it flat works. I've been using it for more than 10 years. It's increased my mileage on every vehicle I put it on, and by the way, it will last forever. You can get rid of your vehicle, just take it off and put on the next one. Go to cpnlive.com. You'll have more information there. You can order it right there. We absolutely guarantee you'll be satisfied. The Fuel Mule. It's a way to kick down your cost of fuel and kick up your mileage. Don't you love the name? I thought of it. The Fuel Mule. Let me ask you a question. Do you like being sick? I have in my hand an incredible product. It's called TR10 supercolloidal silver. TR10 stands for a trace to the negative 10th power. The particles in this silver product are 6 to 8 angstroms, 6 to 8 10 billionths of a meter. Now listen to me. Silver has been the magic bullet for all of human existence. The Egyptians used silver instruments. We use silverware. They put silver in your teeth because nothing can grow on silver. Silver will kill anything but liberalism. I'm working on that. This product, you go to cpnlive.com, buy 1 quart of this product. It will last you for a very long time. Anytime you feel like you've been exposed to something bad, take some of this product, spray it in your mouth, or take a little bit and gargle it, swallow it. It will kill any pathogen. The average antibiotic kills 10 to 20 different pathogens. This product will kill 700 plus. Do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, do your doctor a favor. He's tired of seeing you. Get supercolloidal silver. Go to cpnlive.com, order the product. It's $29.95 plus shipping. I think it's $39.95 delivered any place in America right to your door. It's worth 10 times that. Check it out. If you're not 100% happy, just return it and we'll give you your money back.